guys, and welcome to our Guild Wars 2 Let's Play. I'm your host, Ruby, with 4 awesome Fractal devs. We're going to go through with 4 really good players, and then me, who will hover in the back and throw fire. So I'll let you 2 guys who are in the room with me introduce yourselves, and you can speak on behalf of the 2 who aren't in the room, because they're not here to do anything about it. Oh, dude, they can hear me.
Oh, they can. Hey guys, I'm Ben Arnold on the Fractals team. You guys know who I am. Joining me today is Elijah Miller, also on the Fractals team, and Jason Reynolds. He's the team lead for Fractals and Raids. And then, of course, the Silver Fox.
Hi, I'm Mike Zadrozhna. I'm the game director on Guild Wars 2.
Yep. So today what we're going to be doing is just going through some Fractals. We're going to look at just doing tier 2 right now because we only have about an hour, and we want to get through a couple Fractals so we can kind of talk about design and just, whatever comes into our mind while we're going through these different Fractals. And if you have any questions, of course, put them in Twitch chat and maybe we can respond to those. Towards the end of the day, if we have time, maybe we'll do something fun. But for now, let's just go ahead and jump in. We're going to start with the Chaos Fractal, which was a Fractal made by Elijah Miller.
You know what? We do have to do one little thing before we get started because I just have like this thing on my shoulder with no explanation whatsoever, and it seems like I should probably mention. 4 Fans by Fans has some new goodies in their store today, including this little Arena clip clap that I have magnetized to my sweater. So if you are an Arena fan, that's new, and they added a little Choya pin too that I do not have, so I just have to tell you about it, and you can go to 4 Fans by Fans and take a look. Okay, now we can do Fractals.
All right, let's do it. Waiting on you, Ruby.
All right. Well, I was busy. This right here is how the whole day is going to go. I'm doing stuff.
All right, we're going to need pots and food and kill proof, please. I need you to have at least 50 cosmic essences for this run. If not, I'm going to have to kick you and we're going to have to LFG for somebody else.
Ooh, fake news.
Look,
if they're in your bank, that's fine. I'll just believe that you have them.
Okay. You need an IMBD credit.
Yeah. And since this is tier 2, we really got to make sure we have those potions because it's going to be really rough otherwise.
It's worth calling out that I'm alcoholic and the druid is absolute noob at druiding.
Yep, he is our little black mage here, pro druid. We're gonna see how good he is at healing on a class he's never really played before. So Elijah, you worked on this Fractal. You pretty much did all of the design and implementation for it. You got anything you want to talk about?
Like that hammer?
Yeah. Well, that's the cliffside
talk
Fractal.
about the hammer.
See, that's the thing about this Fractal. Everybody gets confused when we first coming in the first time thinking it's cliffside and not actually the Chaos Isles. But that's kind of what we were going for.
No! I was the first one to fall. What do I get?
I think I fell first.
Oh!
You guys have to fight over it.
Can't let me have anything.
Okay. It's okay, once we get to the end, we can just GG and you can checkpoint. Oh, no.
Are you all being bad today?
I mean, every day.
Good. Keep it up.
Heck yeah.
But Elijah, what was like your inspiration for this Fractal?
We were doing a return to the Fractals because, if you remember, we had a long thing of no new content, and so we wanted to sort of show that we were returning and shaking things up. Sort of this was a combination of the different Fractals.
Yeah, like this is when we were first figuring out that we kind of wanted to do a storyline in the Fractals, whereas normally everything was sort of just one-off. We actually wanted to tell a story, so we introduced this mysterious voice character in here. And we actually did know who he was going to be from the beginning, and we were super excited about it. It just it took a while to realize that, of course, because we had to make 3 whole Fractals.
And Jeff was a map artist on this, right?
No, actually, that was Aaron Panagos. Jeff joined. Let's see, Jeff. What was his first?
Nightmare?
I think that was because Nightmare was after this. So yeah, it had to have been that. I'm trying to think if he did any of the reworks. I think it was just Aaron, and then Jeff joined for Nightmare. He was originally helping with like effects and things, and then he moved on to the actual map art stuff.
I know
Jeff did do
surprisingly,
the
go
reward
ahead.
sword, though. As Jeff did do the reward sword for
Oh,
this
that's
one,
right,
though.
the sword. He hates doing swords. So we're just killing these guys in no particular order. What did you intend, whenever you designed this, did you expect people to pick a particular kitty, or did you just kind of just expect them to kind of be equally chosen for which one's going to be taken to the last?
Well, of course, people get better, but initially, yeah, people would have their favorites to make things easier, especially on T4.
Yeah. Wait, is the dock one that goes invisible? That's the one that annoys me. I like to kill him earlier.
Slows down your speed run.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta get world records, man. Oh man.
There he goes.
I thought that was Ruby's
Surprising
job.
absolutely no one.
So someone in chat says we should consider making these regular. I'm assuming the Let's Plays.
Yeah, I would assume that too. Actually, I think that would be a
That'd be
good
fun.
idea. These are super fun.
I would love to know what kind of content you guys would like to see covered. Because fractals are awesome, and I would love to do more of these specifically with fractals.
For no
Besides-
personal reason, right?
not to.
It's
get your
not at
personal
all
fractal level up.
self-serving, not even a little bit. It might be a little bit self-serving. But I'm not making a list of like what I need. I should.
Oh, this guy reflects. That's nice.
No, now I'm watching chat and getting murdered, so that's cool.
Just don't stand in fire.
Leave me alone. I want to point out that I was not actually standing in the fire that time. I was just in bad shape gear-wise.
Key phrase, that time. We love you, Ruby.
I love you too. You guys are mean.
So I remember one thing when when Elijah was developing this fight with Aaron. You'll notice like under the floor we have like these little floating platforms. Those are specifically there so that you can see the little ground telegraphs. Because originally we didn't have those, and then you could see absolutely no telegraphs, just because these decals will not render on any transparent geometry.
Technical limitations, always fun.
Yeah. And I want to have like an invisible floating platform boss, but that's never gonna happen. All right, 3. Yeah, he knows what's up. 4. One.
Fine,
All right.
one.
All right. We have a 2. All right. We got this. It's fine.
So, oh gosh. Something that I remember us talking about when this first came out was, sorry, I'm trying not to be murdered and talk at the same time, so it's a good time, was the concept of all of these fractals that we were familiar with coming back in a combination, and how it was a lot more complicated than what it seemed like.
I'm actually not gonna get 4. I forgot about the freeze
That
debuff
got me
that I
killed.
can't heal through. So one of you guys is gonna have to get that one.
Ruby?
Great, Ruby, do you want
I mean, yeah, small problem is that I'm a smear on the ground. So no is the answer.
Well, that looks like our first GG.
Everybody slash GG.
Yay.
We're gonna
Let's
have to
talk
blame the
about
warrior
that.
for that one. All right, I'm actually gonna get 4 this time.
I will
I'll take
continue to get 2.
And I'll stay on 1. What was the question again, Ruby? Sorry.
It was, why does this hurt so bad? No, there was a lot of conversation that I found interesting about how this was an amalgamation of lots of different fractals that we've seen before, and how putting that together, it's a lot different than just slapping stuff together and moving on.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to ask it again because I just get murdered every time.
Yeah, there was some criticism about that we just like just crammed everything together and it was lazy, but that's not at all what happened. This was actually a lot of work. And
Yeah,
it's
actually,
the aesthetic we
map
were
art
going
for this
for.
is really involved.
Yeah, like once I'm not being attacked, I'll show you my favorite part of it, which is this massive archway made out of like urban battleground buildings. Now, granted, we were able to save time because we were able to reuse a lot of props. I don't know if I can actually see it from here. You can kind of see it up there. It's like shadowy, but the environment zone's making it hard to see. But yeah, this one, like the detail put into it, even though most of it is existing props, it's really fantastic in my opinion. And it totally looks like the mists are kind of being torn apart and smashed together, which is what we really wanted.
Yeah, I think what's really easy to not, I guess, notice as a player is the effort that goes into making all these individual pieces look floating and also completely separate them. It takes a lot of work and spacing and planning.
Oh yes. And when you have a bunch of floating stuff, that makes it a lot harder to achieve good client performance because you have a lot more geometry underneath everything that has to be rendered. There's just more polygons overall, so it's a lot more extra work on the optimization side to get that working.
All right, so what are we doing here?
All right, so just stack on this guy. Our druid, who's a pro healer, is going to just heal through everything, and we're just going to get this guy. Once he gets below 50%, we're going to break him. I think his break bar does scale down at tier 2, so it should be pretty easy. At least the time does. Oh, so for this guy, every third hit, he's going to do an AoE daze, and it hurts to get hit by it. So either like dodge every third hit or use some kind of oh, we're already here. Break him. Oh no. Res. Perfect. All right, so when he does that again, we all need to use hard CC skills. I was totally not ready for that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, his third attack is a daze. So like, there's a lot of things you can do to get around that, like Aegis and just dodging out. Really, I think the best way to kind of control this guy is to notice when you're being aggroed by him, because he'll kind of focus on one person for his whole auto attack chain, and then you can kind of step out right before he does the third hit that does the daze, and that allows you to prevent your entire party from even getting that hit.
Nice.
This gave people a lot of trouble in the beginning. It's definitely more difficult for like a melee player, but because of the fact that it's a really well telegraphed third hit, you can slot some extra defense to deal with that or just dodge out.
Remember the first iteration of this boss actually had like the middle section of the platform dropping out during the third phase.
You can actually
for
kind
T4. Yeah, it's where this engine is. Basically, the center part would drop out for T4. But again, technical limitations. So we covered it up, and actually, I think it turned out better because of that.
It did. It could have been a cool thing to have happen, like maybe on tier 4. We were having an issue where the boss creature would just walk across the disappeared platforms as if they weren't there, which you'll see in other places, like in the Shadowed Observatory Fractal, where Art kind of floats on things. That's just because the nav mesh doesn't really go away whenever those platforms go away. So even though the collision's gone, your player will still fall. So let's do Twilight Oasis now, our currently newest Fractal that is live.
Question
What is
in
our
chat,
random
T5
instability for
win.
this one?
T5 win. So there's not really a point in making a tier 5. That's sort of what we're trying to achieve with challenge modes, is to give people that extra challenge and like more close to raid-like difficulty for 5-man content. If we were to make a tier 5, it just wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense, because all you're going to do is get everybody trying to concentrate at the top, and now there's just more fractals for everybody to slog through to get to the top, and we don't really want fractals to be like overall that much of a challenge for endgame. That's more what raids are supposed to be for. Like once you get through all the fractals and you feel like you're a little too easy, then you should probably start going and doing some raids or the fractal challenge modes.
All right, so you said this is the newest one.
Yes.
So what's this one?
Palawa Joko. Oh man.
Yeah, that guy.
The meme incarnate.
I know, it's so chatty.
I feel like that's another name that you could have come up with for this fractal, is the meme incarnate.
Probably.
All right, I'm calling that for the next fractal.
Hey Ruby, he's got something he wants to tell you.
Yeah, go talk to him, Ruby.
All right, let me see. Yes, you were clear. Thanks, man.
I can't res you.
I'm so sad.
Oh, I don't want to talk to you now. So this part has undergone a little bit of iteration. You'll notice like now we have these awakened abominations kind of helping you. We wanted this to really feel like a big like first charge, but when we first shipped it, it was a little bit. It kind of felt a little too difficult compared to some of the other parts. So like since we first shipped it, we've made a little bit of like balance adjustments and given you a few more soldiers on your side. So you still get this like big, massive war kind of feeling where there's a bunch going on, but it doesn't feel like everything's just kind of focusing on you and killing you instantly.
Which has some like narrative perks too, because it just helps you feel stronger.
Yeah, exactly.
It is interesting that like when we were designing this, we sort of built in areas where we wanted players, or we expected rather players to just skip. So we totally thought players would skip that.
Yeah,
apparently
it's
players
actually
did not.
difficult to skip. It's very difficult. We tried when we were first testing to skip it with stealth, and we got really close. We pulled a few, and like it's possible if you do back to back like thief, sanctuary, and like what is it, smoke field blasting. You can do it. It's just it's almost easier to just kill everything. Because if you do fail and they follow you and you get a big ball following, because they have a huge leash in this, then you just wipe and you have to start over and it kind of wastes time. But there are some skips that we'll do later.
Where are these archers going?
Which archers?
They're like running away.
Oh yeah, they flee.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
they're
cool.
too powerful. You're too powerful for them.
Yeah, except when they turn and like crit shot you.
We are kind of scattered. We have people up above and below.
Yeah, people are going to get the Slaughter the Sun Spears achievement.
Rude.
It's amazing, by the way.
This Fractal makes me feel so bad. So something that we've talked about before is that we've got new players coming in constantly and starting this content for the first time. And it can seem a little bit overwhelming because this has been going on for so long and there's so much more content that we've put in. What would you guys tell a player wanting to get into Fractals for the very first time?
Well, luckily Fractals are actually pretty easy to get into. Tier 1 Fractals, they scale really low. They're very easy. They're easier than like the open world dungeons even. So you can get in and find a group pretty quickly. There's actually a lot of people at Tier 1. The highest concentration of players are at Tier 1 and Tier 4. If you just throw up an LFG and say like new player, like here, you just throw up an LFG in Fractals of the Mist, scales 1 to 25, which if you're first starting, it's the only place you'll be able to throw one up. You can say like new player learning Fractals, and I guarantee you people will join it very quickly. People actually love to teach Fractals. And because it's not really that challenging at Tier 1, you can get through it without really understanding the mechanics. You don't need a good build. You don't need a perfect rotation. You don't even need a good rotation for Tier 1. But you get to see all of this content. You get to get rewards, and you get to work your way up towards the harder stuff. And since they do progressively get harder with each scale, you're going to naturally get better as you succeed.
That was definitely one of the core things when we were originally designing the Fractals, was having it so that when you get through Tier 1, you've at least seen some of the base mechanics. And when you get to Tier 2, things will hit a little bit harder. We might introduce 1 or 2 new mechanics. But there's just a natural progressive scale, so that by the time you get to Tier 4, you know, sure, you're learning new things, but it's not like you're being inundated with an entire whole new list of things you need to worry about.
Exactly. And like, since the core days of Fractals, we've kind of changed the way we design tier scaling. Like, before Hot, we didn't really have much mechanical scaling whenever we got to higher tiers. It was more of just things get bigger health pools and things get harder, which is a way to scale difficulty. And we still need to do that, obviously, because player DPS does increase as you get higher and, you know, you get better at healing and all these things. But we prefer now, in addition to that, to having actual mechanical changes or having specific mechanics get harder. Like you'll see AoEs that have larger rings, or you'll have skills that normally wouldn't apply a knockback before do apply a knockback, maybe new skills entirely or new phases entirely that kind of appear at higher tiers. That way, as you're going through the tiers and learning things, you're still getting sort of a fresh experience as you try the different difficulty levels.
Yeah.
Ooh, last laugh. So random instabilities are a new thing. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Yeah. So
Love me some of that.
yeah, it's I really like random instabilities. There needs to be a couple of changes, and we are making some changes. We knew that whenever we ship these things, there's going to be variation of difficulty, and that's what we want. We want you to be able to play the same fractal, the same scale at tier 4 different weeks and actually have sort of a different experience. That's sort of what mislock instabilities are for, and they weren't doing that before because they were always the same ones at the same scale, and it just you would get bored of those, or you would treat them as just sort of the core mechanics of the fractal, and they would become forgettable. Whereas,
or we'd rotate like every 6 months to a year, so
yeah,
the
every now and
rotation
then
was
we
there, it
change,
just wasn't there.
and it was very annoying to rotate because we literally had a big think of it like a big Excel spreadsheet almost of just all of the instabilities that are at each scale, and it would just be a huge pain to update that and make sure there's no bugs and make sure everything feels good. We often had things that didn't feel good.
Ruby, you're going to want to jump up the hill
Yeah,
behind you.
I'm actually having a small technical issue, so please carry on, and I'll be
All
right
right, we will carry on. Oh, and you get to
we are
see.
doing the achievement. We're skipping guys.
Oh, cool. I like that I can't move, and there's AoE on me.
So a lot of people probably
There we
think
go.
nothing of this, but this little Veteran Awakened Candid does a little jump thing. That's actually like brand new tech before this fractal, where we can actually have.
Yeah, I
NPCs
think
manage
right
around.
before Announce Gate it came online, we were like, do it.
Yeah, Joel was just like, hey, I made this. So we immediately, of course, wanted to use it for something. And we had problems in that spot of having testers figure out where they needed to go. And we didn't want to have like a big, flashy, annoying arrow or anything like that. So having an NPC that sort of like guides you up to this place served really well.
And then you let him die.
Yep, and then we let him die. We I kind of wanted to have the Candid kind of follow you throughout the whole thing and be your guide like all the way to the boss, but it was too late to do something like that.
So how did you guys come up with the story for this one?
So we were wanting to have something that tied into the POF expansion. Because we wanted to give some backstory there, and like having sort of tie-ins to open world content is kind of nice because it can kind of get people going between the content and trying to find the narrative links there. So we knew we wanted to develop something, and we at the time when we were working on this hadn't really developed much of Palawa Joko's backstory. Like if you play Guild Wars 1, you know who he is and you know a lot about him, but if you're just in Guild Wars 2, you didn't know a whole lot unless you kind of went to the wiki or people told you. So this gave us an opportunity to show sort of how he rose to power and just really how ruthless he is. Like you kind of do play as a bad guy in here, which was another thing we were a little worried about because
Hold on. Kind of.
I mean, you play as a bad guy, but it's not real. It's just a simulation, man. It's.
But I think so. Like getting into it, when we're planning a new fractal, we kind of just brainstorm and come up with ideas. And I think Cam had thrown out like, I really want to play as like a bad guy, like Mordant Crescent. And we all kind of dug on that and went from there.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Playing as a bad guy can be fun, as long as you're not actually a bad guy. Like we didn't want to force you into a role of where you actually are the bad guy. You're just kind of doing Dessa's bidding here. Dessa like kind of tries to comfort you through this and tell you that, oh, don't worry, it's not real. You're just doing valuable research. Now we haven't been skipping because I've been thinking about talking, but there were some skips that we totally could have bypassed some of this trash back there. That was pretty easy.
I think the other nice thing that this fractal ended up doing was it kind of filled out Amala's story as well, because we end up seeing her here, which is kind of her origin of becoming, well, darker and evil, and then you end up seeing her in episode 1 twice, once through the storyline and then as a big open world boss.
So like on Amala, that's one of my favorite things about game development, especially with the Guild Wars, is that Amala was just in the fractal, and then sort of as like a full live team, we wove her into episode 1. It's really great sort of organic growth of the story.
Yeah, we chose Amala for this fractal as sort of like a tragic character, like somebody who's a very righteous person and a very powerful person, but even the righteous and powerful could not stand up to Joko, and we wanted to show that. We wanted to show that even someone as good as Amala could be corrupted and turned against her allies, which is, it's very sad, but it worked really well into tying that into the open world, because then we got to show her before and after Joko took hold of her. All right, let's. I feel like if we try to skip these guys, we might die. Let's try to skip these guys. So let's play like real players, guys. Come on.
Remember, use SAS skill.
Yes, your SAS skill is a dodge. When people were first learning this fractal, and it's similar with Shattered Observatory, actually. Special action skills are difficult for players to learn, we found, because it's a brand new skill that just pops up that you probably have bound to like the equals sign or something useless. But it's an extremely powerful skill, and we balance the fractal around using that. Like there's a lot of AoEs and there's some stuns and things, especially at tier 4. There's lots of stuff to avoid, but because this thing is an evade that's on like a 6 or 7 second cooldown or something like that, it gives you a lot of damage mitigation that you can use. And it sort of makes you feel like you've been empowered when you were awakened by Joko. Oh. Thank you, Wildlook. And there's been a bit of iteration on Amala too, like not really from the balance standpoint, because her balance really is, I think, in a good place, but more of because she's so long and she's got some difficult phases, particularly towards the end. We ended up adding a checkpoint just recently after the Melandru phase. So once you get to her Duena phase, if you were to wipe, because that's when it really starts to get difficult, you don't have to slog through the first 2 phases where you probably already are really good at those. So here's where you get to see more of Joko's army just kind of annihilating the Sun Spears. And they are pretty much unstoppable. You don't even have to help the Awakened. They will take care of all this by yourself, but of course it goes faster if you do. So we got to charge in here. It's more fun
And
that
you
way.
miss out on loot if you let them do it.
That's true. They do drop loot.
Are there any fun chat questions?
I'm actually looking at chat since I'm kind of stuck back here. We had to unplug my mouse and plug it back in to try to get it working again.
It's okay. We can format this.
Let's see. Who has the Super Adventure Box scepter? We very
Probably
much like your
Necro.
gear.
I guarantee you it's Mike Z. That or it's the Druid. Elijah, is that you?
No.
No, that's not me.
Captain AoE again. That's fun.
All right, so run around and flail, kill all the things.
I like this part where I can't move.
Yeah, I got Epi.
reliably.
I don't need to do that.
Oh yes, good old Epi. One thing I really love about the Grinth phase in this, at least at tier 4 when she has the worms, is Necromancer is actually the best for that part, which is thematically good because it's the kind of Necromancer-y part. Because you can just Epi her and take the worms out without even having to move her.
If you guys do have questions, I'm keeping half an eye on chat, so I
Oh,
can
here we
try
go.
to pass them along.
Too easy. Oops, on the MOA.
Uh-oh.
One thing you'll notice, we do have some issues with like if you have like Bloomon, it can be hard to see like some orange telegraphs depending on what class you are. Like as a Condi warrior, I lay down like double fire fields, and those have their own kind of blowout bloom. Something we're aware of and
Ooh, I got the
looking out
golem.
for in the future. Cool. So kite him around. You know what to do.
Don't get hit by him.
He's gonna throw rocks at you and stuff. Please don't make the rocks hit us. That would be nice.
All right, so why does the weekly instability reset on a Thursday?
So the way it works is it resets based on the first day of the year. So it's 7 days from the first day of the year. So whenever that is, that's how it's going to be set up. Just because that's how the random seed is generated. That
Okay.
could potentially change because that is kind of weird, isn't it?
Abaddon Fractal, just play Guild Wars 1. You guys voted. I don't
Yeah,
know what to
It's
tell
too late for
you.
that. So making this boss was probably one of the most fun things I've done in a while. I got to play around with a lot of new tech, all these like AoE things, the AoE patterns, just some new scripting techniques and new
new math.
Yeah, new math basically is one way to put it. Fun stuff. You'll see some of that stuff got taken out into the open world for like Istan and the new map. Just we have to be careful with that because it's cool to do all this mathy stuff and have all these AoEs, but you know, to a point, you don't want to have so many AoEs that that's all people are doing is just dodging AoEs. And that's kind of what the aesthetic of this fight is staying alive, avoiding damage, using your special action skill to jump over things, and then just kind of pressuring the boss. She's supposed to feel like an insanely powerful, like scythe flailing dervish, and I think that's the aesthetic that really shows here.
Well, she cheats because how many avatar forms has she got?
Yeah, she's got a lot of avatar forms.
All right, here's a very important question for you guys. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Is this game worth buying?
Oh, yes.
I
I mean, I got it for free, but I still think it's worth buying.
I mean, I
Wars
would
2
say yes, even if I didn't work here.
Yeah, like Guild Wars 2 is a very special game. The community is really something special, and they allow us to do things. And they're one of the nicest communities I've ever met. So whenever I need help with something, or whenever I see like new players coming into the game, I see this post on Reddit or on the forums a lot about, hey, should I get in? There's just so much to do in this game, and not having a monthly subscription fee makes it so like if you need to step away, it's okay, and it doesn't feel like this massive drain on you, or that you're constantly feeling like you have to be pulled back into the game. And it is okay to take breaks, moderation in all things. So
It's very true. Florley, no, this is not a rerun. We are right here, right now. Listening to people have lunch outside the room right now.
we can prove it's live. Watch, somebody's gonna go down.
Yes, that is irrefutable proof.
Oh, the meteors. These are so noisy, but I
Captain Flynn.
still love them. Last laugh is going to be brutal. Get ready to dodge.
Yay!
It's fine.
Actually, does blind work on last laugh?
Just go down before they explode, and then you're good.
Yeah, they rally at least. That one, 20%, kill it. Ow. Good job, get out of there. Yeah.
What is your favorite fractal? Answer that question while you're working on this. That seems...
Let's see. Favorite fractal to play is probably Nightmare, because it's a really good, or Nightmare Challenge Mode specifically, because it's a good blend of difficulty and not taking too long, and nice rewards as well.
Thematically, I love Chaos. I think Chaos is great.
It is pretty, yeah.
I also have a fondness for Aetherblade and my trend for some reason.
You like Steam Pirates.
You're very angry at yourself.
It might have been because he built his armies and the original dungeon that they're based on,
I
but
sense a little bias.
A little biased, yes.
Tiny bit.
Oh, and Mountain Man. What's it called?
Oh, Cliffside.
I love
Cliffside,
Mountain
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we call Cliffside Mountain Man internally. We have internal names for all these. So if we say something weird about a fractal, that's because we are referring to it by its internal name.
Throw it on the wiki.
How much time do we have left?
You know what? Well, it's 12:38.
20
We
minutes.
have about 20 minutes.
20
But
minutes.
you know what? Somebody just said something interesting in chat that reminded me, not everybody knows actually what a fractal is in this game.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
let's
true.
back way up.
Way up.
And also the inevitable shoe on head are pre-recorded. I'm wearing boots that lace way up and are complicated to undo. So no, I'm not putting a shoe on my head. It's too hard. Fractals, go.
Yeah, so fractals are essentially our currently supported 5-man instanced content form. This is where we put our 5-man instanced resources into. So you can think of it as dungeons, where we do have dungeons in this game. Fractals are more of a smaller version of dungeons that sort of scales in difficulty. So you have the same fractal, or fractal dungeon, whatever you want to call it, that can be played at an easy difficulty, a medium difficulty, hard, expert difficulty, and you get kind of progressively larger rewards as well. And it's also got really the only, I guess you could call it, gear grind that we have in Guild Wars 2, where you have to get agony infusions and you have to have ascended gear. It's sort of the only place in Guild Wars where we're trying to kind of have any form of gear grind and vertical progression, because normally everything is more horizontal. You'll notice there's things in fractals like potions that give you extra stats. There's even infusions you can get if you're really dedicated, like Mike Z. He's got Fractal Savant. It gives him some bonus damage and some bonus rewards. It takes a very long time to get that. I don't have it. those are the kind of things we do in Fractals, but not really anywhere else.
I believe your friends would say good.
Yeah, yeah. They totally would say that to me, wouldn't they?
The only thing I want to emphasize, the gear grind, the ascended armor and that kind of stuff is really more for like the top tier stuff. So even if you just are a brand new level 80 character, walking into the Fractals for the first time is still a very fun experience, and it's not overly punishing. And it's a good chance to kind of see mechanics that you haven't seen in other places, and potentially start moving towards testing your skills in these organized content.
Yeah, it is a really good way to learn how to do instance content. Like it can be a stepping stone into raids as you get further up into the tiers. So if you are somebody who's wanted to try raiding, like this is a good place to start.
I think the other thing is that also this place has been a fun kind of playground for the designers to build interesting boss mechanics that we can put in very structured ways, almost like raid designed encounters that allow players to kind of really push themselves and challenge themselves, and see what we can do with the engine that we couldn't necessarily do in the open world without like destroying everyone's computers.
Exactly. We also have a lot of narrative freedom in here because the fractals. What the fractals are sort of a simulation created by somebody named Dessa and Asura. And what it does is it goes into the mists, which you can think of as like another dimension almost. And you can go back in time in there, and you can see things that have happened in the past. And what she does is she takes these events that has happened in the past or the present, and she sort of creates a little simulation world where you go through and you have to stabilize it for her. You defeat the bosses, you make it safe for her and her researchers to come in and learn about these events in time. And because of that, because we're literally going into the mists and going into whatever time we want, we have tons of freedom with what we can actually create. Whereas with dungeons, we have to tie it specifically to a location in the world and a point in time that is currently happening. With fractals, we can do basically whatever we want, which is amazing and is so much fun, because anytime we come down to brainstorm a new fractal, we have all these crazy ideas that we get to go through.
Somebody was asking about content, if we will come out with a certain kind of content in the future. And Let's Plays we're just playing the current game. That's not something that we're able to talk about right now. It's stuff that we're doing in upcoming releases. Note to self, put the chat monitor a little bit closer to my gameplay monitor. I'm getting whiplash over here.
Dodge.
It's a note for either of us. It's fine. Somebody asked, are fractals bits of the past or also from the future?
I think technically they can be from the future, but we don't ever stray there. I don't remember exactly how much leeway we have there with time. Everything we do is in the past in fractals, though theoretically the mists is sort of like the multiverse. So
is it?
Sort of.
Have we only done the past?
I mean, that's kind of the question mark, right?
Somebody
Who knows?
says, bring more Aether Blades. Why are you like this? No.
Said what now?
Bring more Aether Blades.
More Aether Blades? We already have 2 whole Aether Blade
We have
fractals.
so many Aether Blades. No.
I hear a cry out for more, so.
Well,
Oh no.
you've done it.
No, it was he says.
Redesigning, all work in progress.
Yeah.
More
That new
Aether
fractal? No, it's going to be...
Hold on, I misread this. It said bring no more Aether Blades. That was my bad. I'm sorry. That's
Ha.
like I said, it's hard to say.
Too late. The idea's already been planted.
Yeah.
No, I just misread. This was my mistake. It really, really was a mistake. Somebody said letting the LA check the chat is probably a bad idea. I mean, I'm not great compared to these 4 guys anyway, so I feel like they probably aren't noticing my absence too much. They can form in this.
Nonsense. You're carrying us right now.
Yep.
Thanks,
You got the top DPS. I have a DPS meter. You just can't see it.
All right. So tell us a little bit about this fractal.
So this fractal was back when Cam was on the team. A lot of this design was his. We wanted to create a fractal for the end of the arc storyline, and we wanted it to kind of show. I don't want to spoil the arc storyline, so I'm not going to talk about really the narrative there. But we wanted to have you go, which we're about to do right now, go kind of into Arc's machine and see something crazy that we've never really done before. We played with a lot of new tech here. Like, we actually we sort of overscoped this one a little bit because we were originally wanting to
Really?
make it, yeah, right. Overscope, that never happens.
I smell sarcasm is the thing.
Yeah. We originally were planning on having 4 bosses here, and this is before Jason was like team lead, so he wasn't there to like tell us that's not a good idea. And we were working each on 2 bosses. Cameron was working on the first one and the last one, and I was working on the 2 middle ones. And then during that time, I was also working on all the new tech that you'll see for this, like the low gravity stuff, all the new little patterny things, and just various like the wind tech and all that. And we ended up getting really close to kind of when everything was due, and I still hadn't done my other middle boss. So we ended up cutting that. This area you see over there that is used for achievements, and there's like a lot of cool golem stuff that we added in. That originally was actually going to take you along a whole nother boss path. And I'm actually really glad that we did not do that in hindsight, because this fractal already is long. And what we were doing is almost like trying to design a raid when really it should have been designing a fractal. Luckily, I'm really happy with how it turned out with all that said and done. But this was also probably, I don't know, maybe this was more fun to make. This is probably one of the most fun ones to make, actually, just because of all the fun little things we got to do. Like, a lot of this script stuff has never been seen before. Like this little bouncing marble thing. We had this idea of a sort of a cosmic mage, like an astral mage, that you were going to fight during this, which is the boss we're going to fight next. And oh god, okay, I'm gonna stay up here. You guys do the thing. And we wanted her to be sort of a. We didn't want her to be like an evil bad guy enemy, like a cliche. Just I'm gonna destroy you because I hate you for some reason. We wanted her to be sort of. If you've played Guild Wars 1, you know who Raza is. He's like a being of the mists. We wanted her to be like that, where she's not a human. She's not from Tyria. She was actually born in the mists and kind of lives here, and is innocent. She doesn't understand death. She doesn't understand like fighting or anything like that. She just thinks she's playing with you. So we had to come up with things that sort of went with that theme, like the marbles, the little bouncing marble thing. It's like her playing with marbles almost, and that's the main mechanic. And then since you were in this area, this cosmic-y plane, we wanted you to feel empowered by it. We wanted to have something that really altered the gameplay here and made it feel like something completely different. So we give you this special action skill, Nova Launch, that lets you pretty much instantly fly anywhere you want. It's a stun break. It's on a very short cooldown, 9 seconds, and it gets even more powerful as you progress. And like in Twilight Oasis, we kind of designed the balance around that skill, around you using it, and it really brings a joy of movement to this fractal and all of the encounters. Because it just lets you go anywhere you want quickly, and it's snappy and it's fun, and it plays into the mechanics of the fights as well, which you'll see here in just a minute.
So, Ben, you just did a thing, possibly accidentally. Somebody said Raza is a she.
I don't think I said that.
Raz is a he.
I was referring to
Or
Verastra here. Verastra,
sure.
she is a being of the.
There you go.
But you can see, like, I spent a lot of time like making her just seem like she's having fun, just playing around. Like she's got clones of her. This is teaching you that she can split, that she can turn into many copies of herself. She's bowling, because I wanted to make a bowling thing. I don't know.
Because you can.
Yeah, because I can. And then here she's doing combat, but she doesn't really know she's doing combat. She just thinks she's playing catch. She's just kicking the poor golem around.
She's not doing any harm.
Yet.
So one thing about this encounter, and the last encounter too, is anytime you're in a white circle, and you like do a good thing, like get under the marble and then bounce the marble on your head, it's going to refresh your Nova Launch. So what that means is you can chain Nova Launch and just like teleport around the whole boss arena with it, which just feels really, really good. And when we get to the marble phase, I'll show you that. I'll do the marble, even though at tier 2 you probably don't even need to use it. This is actually the first like real chain lightning skill in the game, I think. Like there's like the elementalist chain lightning that's sort of like a projectile, but this one is actually sort of a bolt of lightning that kind of arcs between people. Oh, get Ruby. These AOE patterns kind of cascading across the platform. That's more of that sort of AOE. I'll call it AOE
Yeah.
tech. It's not exactly what it is, but that's some of the same kind of stuff that we used in Twilight Oasis.
You also had that for the
new raid?
Chapter 4 in Path of Fire.
Yes, Chapter 4. So I got called on to help with some of the expansion stuff towards the end. Just
Oh
working
no,
on
sorry, Chapter 6
Chapter 6. So Chapter 6,
with Glint.
that was the Glint one, yeah. So yeah, Facet of Glint, and then also Balthazar in the end. I was building those encounters to be very visually spectacular without being like too difficult. So a good way to do that was to have these sort of patterned attacks that showed you, for instance, like Balthazar has a lot of power. He can deny you a lot of area, but because you're so awesome, you can still avoid all the damage from that and feel good about that. And then the Facet of Glint, he already had these effects, these like crystals that kind of explode, these little AoEs that played really well into that kind of thing. So I got to play around with his skill set a lot and make some cool skills. And you have a lot of time to dodge the AoE, so even though there's a lot of AoEs, it's not really difficult. It just looks crazy.
So that does bring up a question that somebody asked a few minutes ago, slightly off topic, but let's see what happens. What's your favorite Living World episode?
Mike, you go first.
No time to think about it.
Well, the problem is I've been on Living World since day one.
Exactly.
That's why it's fun to make you answer.
Yeah, I do have a special place in my heart for Silver because it was one of the first kind of large-scale maps that we built with a crazy objective of bringing World versus World into PvE. And so it was a lot of fun kind of building those encounters. I do have to say, though, that more recently, I think the Domain of Istin came out really, really well. And there were some really fun things that we were trying to accomplish, and then there were some really big challenges that I put in front of Frosty and his team, and they really hit that one out of the park. And then, I mean, even Sandswept Isles was really an amazing release for us because of how much, like, just the small details really seemed to matter to players that in ways that we were hoping would. So season 4 has been really fun so far, and I can't wait to continue the storyline there and see where we're going to go.
Yeah, I actually like the new episodes. Like each episode to me is getting better. Like we're having sort of different standards of quality, and that's really showing. I think I particularly like the map design in the newest map.
Z, do you have Fractal Savant is a question.
Yes, he does.
I do. And I've been told I'm supposed to rub it in Ben's face as much as I can.
I wonder if that's why that question happened.
Yeah, I'm close to having the Omni Potion, but I'm not at all close to having Fractal Savant. To be fair, you've been at this company like
Forever.
1,000% longer than I have.
It's only been 12 years.
Oh, is that all?
Fractals has always been close to my heart. It was one of the things I was actually a POC on after we shipped Guild Wars 2. And I don't know, I love the stuff. The potential for what we can do with it, the crazy encounters. So it's one of those things that this is how I unwind, is go do challenging group content.
Yes.
What is Fractal Savant is a question. That was probably a good thing to mention.
Yeah, so Fractal Savant is a brand new concept. We, in the recent rewards rework, where we gave you a lot more things to spend relics on because we didn't really have a lot of sinks for those and people were just kind of hoarding them. We wanted to give ways for you to get a little bit more kind of vertical progression and feel like you were kind of boosting your account with your rewards. So we added things like little infusions that would give you more experience and more karma for everybody on your account. You can even get agony resistance for all your characters. And then the most expensive one for the people who've been playing like since day one, like Mike Z, who have just accumulated thousands and thousands of relics and really deserve something special. For those people, we created these augmentations that are what did we call them? I don't know what their name actually is, but you have like Fractal Savant, and it goes all the way up to Fractal God, and it gives you a title for each tier. There's 4 tiers. It gives you increased rewards. It gives you some extra stats. The stats it gives you aren't really major, but it's a little something that feels good, especially if you get the last one. Like you'll have a lot more healing for yourself, so you'll kind of stay alive a bit longer. And it's not going to like trivialize fights, but it just feels like you're kind of leveling yourself up in the context of Fractals. And it feels like you earned something really crazy special by being an extremely dedicated Fractal player, and it's something that very, very tiny percent of the player base is ever going to get.
I think the thing I like about it is it is a very visual thing, especially because not very many people have it right now. So you come in, you say, "Oh, somebody's got this on their bar," and it's like these people are dedicated. And it's just been fun chatting with them and you know, seeing what players are doing and how they banded together to form groups to help people get these.
Nice work. Now, let's see here. It looks like that's enough power to open the main portal.
See, we have. We're meandering a little bit. What is your favorite mount skin? What is your favorite profession? This is now a live stream about our favorite things.
Warrior for life.
Thief.
Ooh,
I'm
Guardian.
actually a little surprised that you're not here on your thief today.
I didn't
Yeah.
need a moment. Sorry.
No, for Fractals, I generally bring my Necro because it gives me a little more versatility, especially with the groups and friends I play with. So he's the one who's actually got all the resistance built up on him. But I do love my Thief.
For me, it's Guardian.
So we have warrior, guardian, thief.
Yeah, he's only on Druid now because we needed a Druid. Though we probably didn't actually need one for tier 2, but it's okay. It's good practice because Druid's incredibly useful.
Well, buddy, it's okay.
This fight has seen a lot of iteration. For those of
Really?
you who've followed this Fractal, yeah, there was when it first came out, there was like a problem with sort of the scaling, so we had to make sure we were scaling it down for the lower tiers because lower tiers are supposed to be pretty simple, and they weren't in this case. And then, like, I introduced some bugs, and it's just been sort of one of the longer iterated Fractals that we've had to do. Because it's a very complicated boss fight in terms of like how the script is designed and how all the different mechanics kind of play together, and it's once it all comes together, it feels really good. There's just a lot to it.
There's a lot that you learn from the previous encounters that lead up to this guy.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. That's something we were really trying to do with this and the Nightmare Fractal, was make sure that you had a sort of progression of mechanics that you so you wouldn't be like completely surprised. Though this eye mechanic right here, this is something that really tripped people up for a really long time. And as you can see, it has tripped Ruby up.
Thank you. You're just falling, and I'm like, wow, this is gonna hurt in 3, 2, 1.
So one thing that is very useful is your special action skill that you have, the little Nova Launch, can be used midair. And you can use it to stop all fall damage. So whenever you're falling down from that, oh, we need to do the mechanic. Let's not worry about Ruby right now. Let's get these into the
Go,
corners.
go, go!
Look at that. I'm doing my mechanic while I'm downed.
Necro downstate, man. And we're gonna fail this. Don't hit it. Don't hit it. No. Okay, hit it a bunch. Oh, too late. It's okay. Luckily, it's tier 2. See, it used to be that would like kill you at tier 2, and that's an example of something that probably shouldn't do that much damage at a lower tier.
So someone commented, all those minions with the ArenaNet logo. Why do you guys think I run around on a Minion Master? That is exactly why.
Pretty great. Mesmer is pretty cool too.
All
Oh
the
yeah.
clones.
Especially now, because they make even more clones. Look away
That's
from the
totally
eye.
not why we did that.
Yeah, we get to see the good old Arch Diviner.
Oop, don't
And
say
I
that.
am not using my banners because I'm...
Which the Arch Designer was one of the first things you revamped on the right.
Actually, that's true.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Cliffside rework was my first actual piece of content. I had just joined like right when Hot was shipping. And I was originally just on the gameplay team, just like fixing code bugs and things, and pretty much having no idea what I was doing. Just going into like all the hot content and trying to kind of learn how things work, but not really doing a great job of it. So then I got moved on to the Fractals team, where I got to look at like an entire dungeon, like an entire fractal, which was the cliffside fractal, and learn how all of it worked and how to make it better. Because it was one of the chief complaints back then was that cliffside was a really long and arduous fractal compared to the other ones, and we didn't want fractals that were outliers like that. So my job was to kind of go in and make it more bearable and also kind of bring up the quality standards. So that's when we first started doing more tiered scaling. Like you'll see some mechanics actually turn on at higher tiers for him, whereas before he just kind of gained more health, and then we tried to make things less frustrating and just generally tried to make it better all around. And I think we did succeed at that. My favorite part is actually the hammer little bang that goes over your head. You didn't have that before. You just kind of die and have no idea why unless you were looking at your buff bar, which is something
That
new
was
players
so
don't do.
handy.
Yeah.
I
Pretty important.
appreciated that a lot.
Uh-oh.
I don't like it when you say "uh-oh." I just need to.
No, I saw his break bar and I was like, oh, I don't have any break skills, but we don't have to break. It's fine.
You always have a break.
I just used them. Uh-oh.
Stop doing that.
It's okay. That's
Look
why we
what
have Nova
happened.
Launch. So if you guys are watching my screen, I got stunned there, but then I was able to use Nova Launch to save myself. It makes you invulnerable while you're moving too, which is
Nice.
really OP in a good way.
So somebody asked what seems like a loaded question on the surface of it. What is your least favorite elite specialization? But I think we all have professions that we haven't gelled with quite as well. I never care for Mesmer, whether it's I'm sorry. Whether it's basic Mesmer or any of the elite specializations. So a lot of it's just personal preference. I
Yeah,
feel like
it's
Stefan's
true.
going to come in here and smack me for saying I don't like Mesmer.
Let's see. I'm trying to think.
I'm all about Guardian. It's a lot easier, and like the Firebrand Elite spec is super cool thematically.
It really is fun.
Like favorite mount, that the Lion Griffin skin is so good.
Yeah, I
Holy
bought
crap,
that
isn't
right
it
away.
fun? Yeah, but have you guys seen the new branded skins?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Those
They
those
are
die
amazing.
so well. Okay, what are
I-
we doing? We have another one. Where's the? Oh, it's way over here. That's okay. Tier 2. Nice and
But yeah.
forgiving.
The Lion Griffin I was so excited for that one to come out. What is your favorite race and why is it Asura?
Asura's
I
great
think
because
actually
nobody can
is
see your
Asura.
tells in PvP.
Z, get out of chat.
here, let me help you. Make sure you can see my character.
Goodness. You feel 6 feet tall.
I do.
Back.
Actually, when I'm usually running fractals, I go the other way with the miniature tonic.
Miniature
really?
tonic plus
Amazing.
Asura is pretty great.
So if you ever see looking for group postings for Tiny Asura Adventures, good chance it's me.
Yeah.
I think this was also one of the first fractals that you guys did a fairly lengthy, like sort of cinematic event after it completes.
Yeah, it's true. Over here,
Spoilers.
a lot of narrative. Oh yeah, I shouldn't actually show this because there's a lot of people seeing. Let's zoom in and not.
Yay.
Luckily, all that narrative happens after, so once you've played it through multiple times, you can skip it. Something we've been trying to do is keep the narrative not part of the critical path as much as we can, so that you can optionally view it instead of having to stick through that and wait after you've played the Fractal 100 times.
Nice.
But I guess that's going to be it for today, right?
That was awesome. And
Correct.
That was super fun. Thank you guys for dragging me and my dead corpse through. I greatly appreciate that.
Nonsense.
You're
You're
super
Thank you,
welcome.
Jason and Elijah. So let's finish up with nostalgia question. How excited were you all for jumping in Guild Wars 2? That was
Blasphemy.
I took a minute. I was like, what? Oh, that didn't used to be a thing.
No, you could always slash jump.
Slash jump.
That's
yeah,
what I
a
would
jump.
always do in Guild Wars 1 when somebody would complain that there was no jumping. It's just slash jump. And
It was funny because this doesn't answer the question, but it's kind of
Yeah, say it
tangentially
anyway.
related. When we first prototyped kind of Guild Wars 2 in the Guild Wars 1 engine, our jumping was literally the slash jump emote just when you hit spacebar, and so you could actually see the
Displays the
character.
animation. That's about
Oh,
right.
man. All right. Well, thank you guys for spending some time with us this hour, and thank all of you guys for coming to talk to us about fractals and play some fractals with us.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All right.
Hope
We
to
will
see
see you
everybody in
guys
game.
next time. See you in game.
Hey.
GG.
GG.